Hello, great to have you with us on the form. As always, there's lots to get through, not just with the domestic racing here on this Friday morning, but also, of course, teasing that Group 1 racing that is coming up over the weekend. Let's have a little look at the agenda and see what we've got on the show. The Wingatui preview with Justin Evans. We then head to the Greyhounds, where Pip Morris talks us through the Whanganui Dogs. Matt and Whale for a harness preview around the key race, the New Brighton Cup. We get a Tofane update with Mike Moroney. We also have a little chat about the Melbourne Cup pre-start favourite Incentivise, who kicks off his campaign in the Makybe Diva Stakes with his new trainer, Peter Moody, wrapping up the show here on the form with the best bets. Well, first here on the form this morning is Justin Evans, and he's going to be making the trip to Wingatui this afternoon. Justin, we've got the 7 races there. First of the day at 12:31, a nice compact card. What do you like on that program?
Yeah, hi, Millie, and thankfully not too much of a trip for me, about 90 seconds, actually, just down the road I live. So, look, I can tell you there has been a bit of rain in the area this week. We're certainly going to be having a fairly wet track. It's been slow all week, and we'll just see how that plays out across the day. Look, Emily, I think there's a couple of pretty good bets across the 7 races, and I think we can start the account on the first with Louis Louet, who I think is going to be awfully hard to beat. It's only a 7-horse field. Look, he's a horse I've always had a lot of time for, and he's really sort of come to it, Louis Louet, and he was very good across the Winter Carnival at Riccarton. I thought that was on the back of a couple of cracking wins. He was pretty unlucky on the first day there. He was caught 4 wide. I thought he fought on really well under a clear top weight that day. Backed it up with a really good third to the very talented Just Ask Me on the last down at open handicap. Look, I've looked through this field. It's only a 7-horse field. He does have a very promising mare there to combat Asker, who is, as a thought, obviously resuming. I think he'll have too much toe for her. I don't think, however the race is run, he's going to take a lot of beating. Travels up nice and strong in the bridle. I think he'll be too good for them in the first. So, look, he won't be big odds, Emily, but I think he'll get the day off with the right note for the punters. So, Louis Louet for Chris Johnson. Another pretty good bet, I think, comes up a little bit later on. Race number 6, King of the Castle, who is quite a promising horse, created a big impression winning at Riverton earlier in the year at his home track. Now, Kelvin Tyler has spoken quite highly of this horse, thinks a fair bit of him. Look, he's had a couple of runs back. They've both been down the track, but both been pretty good runs. He got home really well over 1,200, too short for him at Oamaru on that very testing track behind the smart Chili filly. His next run at Riccarton, far better than it seemed. He did a poultice of work that day on that really bog track. He was working the whole race, got around to the lead after sort of improving the whole race, was leading on the turn. Look, he did pack out, but he boxed on pretty well, set up a really good time. I think he'll win this out to a mile in a softer race, third up. I think it'd be very hard to beat, and it gets a 3-kilo claim with Sanutulua riding. So pretty keen on both of them. Will certainly make Louis Louet, though, the best of the day in the first.
Really keen to get a value bet from you as well, Justin, and I understand you've got one for us in race number 5.
Yeah, I do like this one, Emily. Race 5, number 10, Tara Bibi. It's been a couple of years since she got her only win. Funnily enough, I actually caught her that day up in the Naki, up at the CD. So it's been a long time between drinks for her. I think I might be calling her home a winner at Wingatui today, hopefully. Look, she's a really good chance. Certainly no good thing, but I think at an each-way price, she runs a race here. Tina Komiyagi is on. She knows this mare well. She drops back in grade today after racing in some rating 74. She actually backs up from Ashburton just the other day, where she led in a rating 74 there. I think the key is obviously the wet track, which she likes. Back in class, and also back to 1,200. I don't really think she cots 1,400. Just the way that race is set up, I can see her getting home very strongly. I think she'll go close to winning, Tara Bibi, at an okay quote. So that's in race number 5. So look, only 7 races, Emily, but I think there's a little bit of money to be made, fingers crossed, and looking forward to getting back to what's the home track for me these days at Wingatui.
Awesome stuff. Thanks for that, Justin. We now move on to our greyhound expert and Pip Morris. Pip, welcome back. Good to have you back on the show this afternoon. Let's have a little talk about the Whanganui Greyhounds, because there's a couple of really nice options for people to play into, aren't there?
Certainly is, Emily. Yes, 10 race card this time on the Friday night and $5,000 guaranteed first fours on every race. And look, there's a couple of races on option, maybe like race number 4, Blink and Lily could anchor her in those first fours and then look for a couple of dogs in behind. So another reason to play Friday night racing.
Tell us about your best and value bet. Start off with the best.
Come up with best in race number 5, the 1 Cash Stack for Lisa Cole. Look, this dog's a recent Australian import. He was 4th in the Speed Star across the Tasman. Won nicely down at Addington on debut. Really nice field, though. Emily's going to have to be good off box 1. But I think if he can sit behind these pacemakers, he's known for his strength. I think he can pick them up on the line. And hopefully, because it's a nice field, he should be paying a price.
And tell us a little bit about your value bet on the card.
Come up with a dog that's returning from a spell in Mexican Cutie in race number 9, the 2. Look, she's got real early pace. There's a couple of dogs in there that want to move away from the rail. So, look, I think maybe the 3 can be a buffer for her, use her pace, and look, she should be at a really good quote.
Awesome stuff. Thanks for that, Pip, and we'll no doubt catch up with you next week.
Sounds good. Thanks, Emily.
Two of the greatest minds in the harness business to have a little chat about Addington, and there are some key races. We welcome in Craig Thompson and Matt Cross to talk through one of these key races in the New Brighton Cup. Craig, we'll come to you first. AG White Sox, of course, moving to the Unruly. How does that change the race complexion for the New Brighton Cup?
Yeah, good morning to you, Emily, and to you, Matt. Well, it does. It changes it immeasurably because now he loses all the advantage. I mean, he missed away last week when he drew the inside, and that was the risk you took with him. He'd been good at the trials. He disgraced himself last week. They put him on the Unruly, and now he's lost the tactical advantage because now you've got Classy Brigade, good beginner drawn Handley, DiCaprio and Henry Hubert drawn right beside. So really, Classy Brigade, it's going to be a similar type of race, Emily, as it was last week. It was a bit of a dawdle in a sprint home, and there doesn't appear to be an awful lot of moves in the race because most of these horses, to be honest, aren't good enough to work mid-stages. So to answer your question, AG's White Sox, I think he went every bit as good as the winner last week, but where's he going to be in the running? So that gives Classy Brigade the tactical advantage. These steps, you'd expect DiCaprio or Henry Hubert to drop onto his back, and he'll get very much into that Indian file order from last week. So, Matt, your thoughts on the scenario at the start? I mean, manners are everything. AG's White Sox didn't have it last week. He was equally as good off the clock, but he can't afford to have tactical disadvantage.
Yeah, it makes it tricky for him, Craig, and often we see in these early road to the Cup races, there isn't a lot of pressure like you spoke about. They're more of a walk around and a sprint home. No matter how I look at this race, I find Classy Brigade in front. Even if Henry Hubert beats him out to the first turn, John Dunn will be out and around. He won't be wanting to sit in the trail. He'll want him on the top end. So that puts DiCaprio at all of those circumstances at a disadvantage. I see him being 3 back on the pegs. Henry Hubert likely to be sitting in the trail because if DiCaprio begins well and jumps straight onto the back of Classy Brigade, that's going to leave Henry Hubert in the breeze. He'll roll forward. I think John Dunn won't muck around. He'll be out and around, and that likely puts AG's White Sox in the parked position. But if it's a dawdle around like it was last week in a sprint home, Ricky May should be able to get there pretty comfortably aboard AG's White Sox. The question will be, can he sit outside of Classy Brigade running a 55 last half and wear him down? They ran him close last week, Classy Brigade, but you'll expect that he'll be a massive improver. He had a few months between runs. He's now an 8-year-old. In the old terms, he would have been a 9-year-old coming into this race. He's looking for back-to-back wins. I think he'll get it his way up front with Henry Hubert sitting on his back, DiCaprio 3 back the pegs, and AG's White Sox sitting in the breeze. They'll be your first 4 home if AG's White Sox does everything right. I've gone with Classy Brigade to go back-to-back. Barrier 1 is a massive plus for him. Outside of him, AG's White Sox willing to put him in for second, Craig. The 3 Henry Hubert has to be respected, and DiCaprio continues to run bold races, but I just think how the race might unfold, he might be a couple of lengths off the leader here. Classy Brigade, he's had 74 starts, Craig. He's about to make it 75 for 21 wins, I think, and the second of our road to the Cup races, the Avon City Ford.
You got to remember also a lot of those defeats that he had, Emily, were behind Lazarus early in his career. So he ran into a champion early on in his age group career. So I'm same as Matt, Classic Brigade on top. I think Henry Hubert will push him this week. I think, as Matt said, he'll probably be leading or trailing, so it puts him in the right spot. AG's White Sox, love getting Ricky a decent trip. He hasn't had one so far. If he did, we'll see the real one on Friday night, and DiCaprio top 4. So same 4 for me, slightly different way around.
I'd love to also get your opinion on that 6th on the card as well. Of course, Sunday's Sun, a short-priced favourite, won the race for the past 2 years, Craig, but can the horse make it 3?
Well, he'll be driven differently this week, Emily, I can tell you now. Last week he got back and very much walk and then a sprint, and he ran some phenomenal sections. As I said to Matt on the night, he ran home at 55.8. Not many trotters can do that, and he still didn't win the race, but he made up many lengths behind Vacational, who's a very good mare in her own right. I think this week you'll see John Dunn put him in the race a lot earlier. He will no be sitting back and waiting till the 800-metre mark. I think he'll make a mid-race move, and I think he'll find the front. So, I mean, it's very hard to make a case to back a $1.50 chance, but I certainly wouldn't be tipping against him. Where's the value in the race? I really like a horse called Midnight Dash. It's $2.40 to run top 2, or I think $1.60 to run top 3. I think this horse worked equally as good as Midnight Lavros at the trials last week. I thought he actually looked a bit fitter, and he's very good off a standing start. So if you can't take the $1.50 around the favourite Sunday Sun, I really like the $2.40 around the top 2 on Midnight Dash. I thought his trial was excellent. Majestic Lavros is fresh up, and of course Vacation Hill comes back again from last week's winning run, but drops back into a stand. Not so easy for it this week. But Matt, I think Sunday Sun, I think the real one will turn up this week. That run under his belt, the residual fitness now, everything points to him running 3 years, the winner of the Ordeal Trotting Cup.
And I think Craig's step up to the 2,600 metres only adds to his arsenal. He started $1.20 last week. He's probably more of a $1.20 shot this week, to be fair. It's hard to say that $1.50 is overs, but the step up to the 2,600 metres with the run under his belt, the promising sectionals that he ran last week, he ticks all of the boxes here, Sunday's Sun. I think he'll be winning. He's the best trotter in Australasia, in my opinion, and I think that he'll add to his tally of 21 wins and make it 22. You're right about Midnight Dash. Gee, we're so lucky with the powerhouse of 4-year-olds coming through into the open class ranks this year. Add in Muscle Mountain and Bolt for Brilliance. I'm sure that they'll be there to give Sunday's Sun a fright at some point of the season. Of course, we saw Bolt for Brilliance run him close in a couple of races last year, including the Rowe Cup and the Anzac Cup. Vacation Hill off the inside, excellent last time out. She's the mare that's got the task to fly the flag for the girls against the very good boys. I think she's one of our better mares going around in the country, and she's shown with her Trotting Oaks win and her win last week in the Basildine that she's more than capable. Majestic Lavros, I thought his trial was good. All reports are that he's back on track. Quality Animal, of course, won the Kaikoura Trotting Cup last year in great fashion, bidding home some very talented horses, including Sunday's Sun, who made a mid-race break in that. And the interesting runner for mine, Craig, is Mataderos, who comes into this race after an emphatic win last time out, and he looked to do it with relative ease. He doesn't have the best barrier draw starting off the unruly. But what were your thoughts on his win last time, Mataderos, Craig? I thought, in my opinion, that he wouldn't be out of place here in the open class trotting ranks.
I think he's come a long way in a very short time, Mataderos. I mean, he's a horse that predominantly won a lot of his races on the grass when he came to New Zealand, and the all-weather track was never really his go. But he did go to the trials, and he trialled with a Group 1 performer and heavyweight hero. Suggested to me that they've sorted that grit problem out. He went, like Matt said last week, and he overcame a big handicap to win, and checking the running to do that as well. My problem this week is tactically he'll be settling at the back end of the field when obviously his stablemate will be at the top end of the field. And in between them, we've got Group 1 performers, and then we've got the likes of Vacation Hill, Midnight Dash. So I think he's a top 4 chance. I don't see him realistically winning this race. I think he's a horse that in 6 months' time, come after Christmas, he's going to be very competitive in the open trotting ranks. But at this stage, I think he's on the up and up, but I prepare to leave him this week.
Oh, Emily, I think it's fair to say we're both with Sunday's Sun. $1.50 could be a touch of overs.
Yeah, certainly sounds that way. Let's wrap things up with your best bets, best and value. Craig, we'll start with you. What have you singled out for us?
Well, there's a lot of shorties on the night, Em. There's a lot of $1.60s and $1.50s going around. Sugar Me's at $1.60 and Sunday Sun's $1.50. I think they'll both win, but something outside that hopefully is over $3. I don't mind one in the first in Talent Agent. Last week he was in a very hot field taken out by Beach Ball. He goes around later in the program. He actually ran down the back straight in 26.6 just to get into the trial and then run another 28 quarter to run home in 54.6. I thought he maps to run on the speed this week. It's not as strong a maiden field. I thought in race one, Talent Agent, probably the best tonight. If we can get Emily, as we record this before the fixed odds come out, around that $3 mark, I wouldn't want to take anything too short about him. And my value bets later on, a grey trotter. I love a grey trotter, and Puzzled goes around in the late trot. I thought she's a mare that may be flying under a few people's radar because she was only ninth to her last start, but her sectionals were great, Emily. She actually trotted home in about 57 seconds, and she drops out of that Mataderos race. So race 8, number 8, Puzzled, again, as long as we're getting an each-way price.
And Matt, what about for you? What's your best and value on the card at Addington?
Well, I can say that Puzzled certainly hasn't flown under my radar either, Craig. I've got her as the top selection in the same race, so confidence from us both there. We might have found something around Puzzled. My best of the night is Beach Ball in race number 5. A 2-year-old that rolled forward and did it pretty convincingly last week. He's a big brute of a son of Some Beach Somewhere, loves it in front. He'll be a fitness improver from that run. I think he'll lead again. Swaggerman looks a bit of a danger in that, but race day experience will take you a long, long way in the 2-year-old caper. So Beach Ball, the best, race number 5, number 7. I reckon he'll be around that $2 mark, maybe even a little bit shorter from the barrier draw. And on to the last race, race number 10, I think is the best betting race of the night. You can look at that race 100 times and come up with 100 different scenarios, really even field. Just about anything in there could win that. I thought Saginaw off the second row. His running behind Sugar Me was luckless 2 starts ago. That was last Friday. Came back on Sunday, driven completely differently to what he was in that Sugar Me race where he was sprinting. Then he did a power of work in a 156 mile rate. I thought to the second row, if they give you anything over that $5 or $6 mark for Saginaw, you could take him on an each way to round out the program. That last race is, I reckon, is the best betting race on the program.
Love your work, both of you. Thanks for joining us here on The Form. It's been great to have you on. Well, across the ditch now, and Mike Moroney joins us on The Form this morning. And Mike, we are really counting down to an exciting weekend, aren't we? Because Tofane in the Makybe Diva Stakes, how did she come through that last run in the Memsie?
Yeah, I think she's improved, Emily. Look, she went into it really as fit as we could get her to go 1400, and she's improved a little bit again. She's really improved in the coat and everything. So I think her fitness level's right there to give her a chance to get the mile.
It's a lot of firsts this weekend, isn't it? Because you've got a first time over the 1400 metres and a first opportunity to sort of step away from the straight at Flemington and go around the bend. What are your thoughts on both of those things changing?
Look, I think that, well, I'm hoping that she runs up to a breeding, because if she does, she shouldn't have any trouble. Her problem was that she wanted to just overdo it as a young horse. We spent a long time teaching her to relax and kept her back at the shorter trips. But when she was winning over 1,400 metres, she was running right through the line. And I do think that now she's well practiced and worked the whole job out. She is relaxing a long way better. Our little concern Saturday is it doesn't appear to be any speed on, and she's going to probably be outside the leader or right there, I would think, and just out in the clear from that barrier draw is going to make it a little bit more difficult. I'd like to have seen her hopefully get a bit of cover, and she still may do, but just on the map we see it, it's going to be a little bit more difficult to get a bit of cover.
That was literally my next question. Yeah, it is proving a difficult tactical race, isn't it? What do you feel is the best position to have her in? It might not unfold that way on Saturday, but optimally, where would you like her to be?
Look, it'd be lovely if we were sitting fourth. Exactly where she did in the Memsie would be ideal, just in the 1-1, and just hopefully we get out in time and don't get crowded like we did the other day. But look, I'm pretty sure she'll relax well enough now. She seems to be really nice and fit, and she's certainly got a better form on the bigger tracks. That she's found Caulfield a little bit tight that last corner, as a lot do, and she just got off the bit when they were sprinting up around the corner the other day. When she got held up before then, had to really sprint around the corner, and she just looked the first one under a bit of pressure and unbalanced. So I think the big sweeping bends of Flemington will suit her, as did Randwick and when she won those two Eagle Farms. So look, we're hoping that she relaxes well enough to get the mile, because she popped out and without cover in both those two wins in Queensland. She got cover briefly, but from the half mile on, she popped out and gave herself clear space. So we're just hoping that things go well on Saturday.
I notice online that the only other nomination is for the Cox Plate. Would that be sort of the natural step now to leave her until then, or would you like to get another run under your belt in between times?
I'd like to get another run, we think, under a belt. But look, it's going to be crossroads for her on Saturday, because it's going to really sort of determine what path we take with her for the rest of the spring, whether we do really concentrate on a Cox Plate, or we just say, well, we've got the Toorak and the Mears race here, where she's got that $1.2 million bonus to run round 4. Or if she doesn't look like getting a mile, there's the 400 metre race in Sydney. But there's certainly plenty of options for her. So it's going to be, this race here is going to be the telling point for her.
What's your gut feel? You know her better than anybody. What do you think is the path that would suit her best, just given what you've seen of her already?
Yeah, I'd just like to, as I said, I'd be a long way happier if she drawn a better gate, and we could have a little bit of cover. I just a bit suspicious that she's going to get overgoing out the clear for a long time, and that would be my only concern. But I think that her fitness levels are right there. I'm very happy with her. So it won't be that. It'll be just the fact that the rub of the green with the run of the race is going to be what she needs to go away.
You've got a couple of other runners on the card there at Flemington on Saturday. Race number 4, a filly, Asteroidia, I think, as we discussed beforehand, the correct way to pronounce it. A Buy American Pharaoh, and came through that Quizette Stakes last time. What did you make of that run? Yeah,
look, Ben Mellon rode her, and he hopped off her and just said, look, don't worry about it, Mike. She's right up to it. He just said they stood the gates for a long time. They had a lot of trouble getting one in, and then they scratched one, and she walked out of the gates. And he said once she did that, she was out of the race. But ran up behind them without being able to get in the clear, and got held up for a few strides. And then he said the race was over. He didn't do much on her. So he thought she was up to them. She certainly works as if she is. And so we're going to give her a chance. I had her in at Moonee Valley, but she drew the outside gate. And she's drawn out this time too. But it doesn't matter. It's dead and straight. And it doesn't seem to really affect them as much. But certainly around the valley it does. So we decided to pull out and run this week. And it's a good race again, but she's going to be pretty good odds, and we do think that she's probably our best 3-year-old filly. So be interested to see how we go. Yeah, the other two, obviously we mentioned Tefani, but the other two runners have a decidedly Kiwi flavour to them. Not an option having the first start for you. Haven't seen this horse since July when finishing 3rd in that Winx Guineas. How have you found the horse, and what are you hoping for on Saturday? Yeah, lovely colt. He's good type. He's settling well here. I saw a little bit of him in Queensland because he actually was stabled where we were as well. Mm. So he's a really nice horse. And look, we gave him a jump out. He performed really well. He's drawn out. We'll probably have to ride him a little bit quiet from that draw, I would think. But in saying that, they tell me of late that's how they've been riding him. So, but a really nice horse, and it'll be interesting to see where he fits in, because he certainly pleased us. He looks well. He came to us looking really well. He had a very short break in Sydney, and then came to us, and he hasn't really missed a beat, and everything's been really, really good with him. So we're, he's going to be an interesting runner on Saturday. You've also got Milford in that 9th race on the card, who of course comes through New Zealand Derby, and then obviously had the one run there in Melbourne on the 28th of August, settled back from the 1400. And what's the progression been like since then? He seems really good. Look, he's been gelded since he was seen last start before he came to us as the AJC Derby, I think, from memory. And he's been gelded, and look, he's a nice horse for ability. And what happened to him at Caulfield is he jumped awkwardly, and took a while to get balanced again. By that time, he'd lost the advantage of his barrier draw and got right back. Then he really snaked around that corner at Caulfield. Mickey D said that he just changed behind and didn't change in front and did it all wrong. We'd taken the blinkers off him. Speaking to Bruce Perry, who manages him, he said that they put the blinkers on because he was doing that, even going right-handed at times as a colt. So we'll put the blinkers back on, and you could see a quick improvement with those on. But he's a nice horse, and he's obviously got some nice ability there.
Don't want to put you on the spot, but do you have a horse for Kiwis to follow during the spring? Maybe one we haven't quite seen yet, or one flying under the radar that we can follow?
Yeah, look, I think the horse that ran yesterday, a horse called Emissary, he's a son of Kingman. We bought him. He ran in an English derby, albeit he only beat one home. But I was impressed with his first up run yesterday, and he should only really get better and better. And he's a lowly rated horse. He's got a bit to do. So he should make his way through the grades quickly, I would think. So he's the one to me that in the spring you can probably follow, because he's going to be in lower class races and he should be able to cope with those. It'll be interesting to see where he ends up, but he's certainly a really nice horse.
Great stuff, Mike. Thanks so much for your time, and we'll be cheering you on back here in New Zealand, flying that Kiwi flag high, and best of luck with Tefane.
Okay, thank you.
A treat for us now on the form, because we've got Peter Mooney joining us, and of course Incentivise is one of the top chances in the Makybe Diva Stakes on Saturday. Pete, obviously it's one thing looking at a horse from afar, but Incentivise has now joined your stable. Tell me what you've learned about the horse since he's arrived.
Oh, listen, he's settled in well. He's done everything asked of him since he's been down here. We've had him probably best part of about 7 or 8 weeks now, and he came down in excellent order. You know, his part owner and previous trainer, Steve Tregay, had him up there in Toowoomba, and he had a slight let-up post his winter carnival. Didn't have a lot of time off, so he came with a lot of residual fitness. So basically for us, it hasn't been about training him. It's just been trying to keep a smile on his face and get him to the races in the right order. You know, he's needed to do very little work. We gave him a 6 furlong barrier trial 10 days back, but that was just more for Brett Preble to have a sit on him than it was about anything else. He's done everything asked of him. He's really pleased us.
And what's been Brett's feedback from that barrier trial?
Yeah, well, that's his only sit on him, and he was very taken with him. So he thought his action was good. He travelled on his Melbourne leg and then let down and changed stride in the straight nicely, and he was very taken with him.
What he did in Queensland, I was there, I saw it with my own eyes, absolutely devastating performances, beating some really good horses in the end. What is your opinion of him fresh over the mile? How do you think we're going to find him there on Saturday?
Yeah, listen, he's prepped up well. He looks like a very impressive horse, bearing in mind that, his best form is well past a mile. I think the last time he was at a mile might have been in a restricted race at the Sunshine Coast. He steps into 10 individual Group 1 winners in this race on Saturday. He's only ever met one sort of 10 or 15 furlong Group 1 winner in Mirage Dancer. That was at his last start. So it's a whole different ball game. So Saturday's just a prelude to getting him ready for the Turnbull and the Caulfield Cup. But at the same time, I'm still looking for a good competitive showing.
Yeah, and he's shown that he can do that, hasn't he? How do you get to those Cups races? What's your plan, all being well, out of the Makybe Diva Stakes?
He'll go 3 weeks to the Turnbull and 2 weeks to the Caulfield Cup, all being well.
And a Melbourne Cup, obviously, on the back of that, if that was okay, or maybe a year too soon?
Yeah, well, we'll just let the horse guide us along. You know, he looks very well at the moment, but he looks very ready at the moment. My challenge is going to be having him looking this well in 6 weeks' time for the horse. He's a big, lean type of horse. He probably strikes you more as a European type galloper than our Australasian type galloper. He's got a great, big, deep chest on him and very strong in front, but sort of narrows out and sort of falls away behind the saddle. But he's obviously got a great set of lungs on him. So my issue will be maintaining the horse's well-being, not trying to identify or train him too much, because we know he can run.
Yeah. And what about tactically on Saturday? He's shown that he can have that tactical speed and put himself there. Where would you like to see him in running?
Oh, listen, I'm just going to leave it up to Brett. We're both learning about the horse at this point in time, so we're not going to go out with any set plan at all.
Yeah, and you've got a couple of other runners on the card there at Flemington. We'll just get a quick word on those. Lightsaber in race number 2.
He can run well. He was very good through the line in a 1,200 metre race the other day. Better suited. The last time he was at Flemington 1400, he won the size produce. So he can run well, but respecting Artorias at the top of the markets in that race, the Blue Diamond winner, who did look very good first up the other day. But I take good heart from the fact that my horse has proven at 1400, where we haven't seen Artorias out to that trip at this point. So a good each way hope.
And race number 3, you've got Smitzer. That's the number 8 horse.
Very well-bred colt. He was a very dominant winner on debut. He got lost in a strange race at Moonee Valley the other day where they went mad up front, but none of the back markers were able to get into the race. So sort of just not sure where he sits in the food chain at the moment. He's sort of throwing a little in the deep end here, taking on Ingratiating and a few others. But he's a nice colt. He's got a deep pedigree and he's got good quality, this horse. First time down the straight, always a little unknown. But, it's more a look and learn, but I think he's got a future.
Well, Pete, thanks so much for your time. Really looking forward to seeing Incentivise step out and following him towards some of those bigger cups races.
Hope so. Thanks, Emily.
A big thank you to all of our guests on the form this morning. Some great insight into not only this afternoon's racing, but the weekend ahead. Now it's time to recap those best bets. Well, that's it from us here on The Form. It's been a pleasure to have your company as always. Brendan Popplewell will be jumping in the chair tomorrow morning. I'll be back with you next Wednesday as we look towards a massive week of racing, including the build-up to the Group 1 Tarzino Trophy.